Picture this. Upper New York City. The year is 1882. The nouveau riche have arrived, and old New York is not pleased, as they have controlled who's in and who's out for centuries. By using their lineage as a way of keeping people out of upper society, it has always worked, up until now. The Russells have moved in, and they mean to claim their place in society's circle. They've got more money, and they will not be deterred nor denied by any of those who dare try to stop them from their rise. But my dear, old New York is just as determined as they, not to let them in no matter how much money they have. And don't be fooled. Lineage is just as important on the other side of town where Black upper society lives. So, who will be successful? New money or old New York society? Let's see what unfolds today in upper society on the Gilded Age. Good morning, all. I needed to get this done so that I can clear all these pictures out of my studio here on StreamYard. And I had to do that before I review Beyond the Gates later on today. So here we go. Let me get down to my pictures. I know nobody's probably going to be here, but that's okay. I'm putting this up for you guys to enjoy, hopefully later. In the opening of the third season, George Russell is, I should have told you that too. This is season 3, episode 1 of the Gilded Age. Okay. So in the opening of the third season, George Russell has traveled west to Arizona and and it's a very undeveloped part of town to do business. He's dressed like, I forgot I said I was going to do this with that New York type of accent back then. So here we go again. Okay. So he's traveled to the Old West area to do business, and he's dressed like in his very I'm rich attire in this place which has nothing but dirt roads and wooden walkways. Nothing like the life he lives in upper New York. Well, back in New York, the servants are of the old money side of the street are enjoying a snow toss, tossing snowballs with the servants of the new money house across from them, and they are friendly with each other. So the two older men, and also who happen to be the heads of staff, greet each other and decide to cross over and have a small conversation. And the old money's head of house staff, Mr. Bannister, the guy with his back to you, um, is talking to Mr. Church, the guy that is facing you, and they have a quick chat and share a little innocent gossip about their houses. So Bannister says to him, "My mistress is planning to hold a temperance meeting here today." And he says, "Oh, that's what's going on over here, huh?" So that that's let me see what I wrote here. Okay, she's holding a temperance meeting here today. Okay, which is upper crust lingo. Uh, well, I was trying to say that they're using upper crust lingo to gossip. Okay. And he says Mrs. Van Rhymes is a temperance activist because Mrs. Van Rhymes is the lady who owns the house. And he says, "No, I was referring to Mrs. Forte, who is Mrs. Van Rhymes' sister." Church says, "But you said mistress." And Banner says he lets them know that they've had some changes in their house because the sister who owned the house lost all of her money. And the other sister, who she used to take care of, got married, husband died, and he left her a very large sum of money. Turns out he was very, very rich. And it saved them from financial ruin as a family. But the money is now controlled by Ada. And since she pays the bills, the servants in the house, she is now the mistress to them in her sister's home, even though her sister Agnes owns the home, aka Ada controls the purse strings now. So that's something new for them to experience. Okay, I got that all upside down. Now, inside the house, Ada is excited about her temperance meeting. Temperance meeting meaning that they're going to abstain from alcohol in very limited quantities or not at all. And they even go as far as to sign a pledge. I don't think so. I don't drink, but I ain't you about to make me do all that. Okay. But she's excited about the temperance meeting. And her sister Agnes, though, is not. She's, but since Ada controls the money, she's let the people in. Whereas when Agnes used to control the money, these people would have never got across her doorstep because she doesn't tolerate. She's uppity, but she's not quite that kind. Now, Ada wants to get involved with a cause in honor of her late husband. She says it will keep her busy. Um, she says, but my dear, drinking wine is weaved into society. So how I don't know how she's going to manage this. I don't know how she's going to manage this at all. Now, Peggy, let me see. Peggy, who is Mrs. Van Ryn's secretary, also happens who also happens to be black, is in Brooklyn with her family, who has a lot of money themselves. They live in a brownstone very much like the Van Ryns has, but I don't really think the family knows that. I think only Marion knows that because they've never brought it up, even though they should be able to look at the way she dresses and tells that she is pretty high tone. Okay. But anyway, she's visited her family in Brooklyn to pick up a piece of mail that's coming for her because stuff back we didn't this is before telephones. So they had sent a note to let her know that she had mail. Now why they just didn't send it? Now if you're gonna send a note to say she has mail, why not just send the mail? Maybe because they wanted to see her. I don't know. So anyway, in this house, they have servants just like in the house that their daughter is working for. She is not working for them because she needs money, because her family is very well off. She's working for them because she likes Mrs. Van Rhymes and it helps her with her writing, which she hopes to be a published writer. Now, back at the Russells estate, they're and they're very quite impressive estate that is. Um, she's bustling about organizing and she needs her staff to do a lot of things because in secret she's working on something, right? So her daughter Gladys lets her know that she's going for a walk with her brother Larry to see the snow because this is 1882. So we're going to go walk and go see the snow. So things that you do, especially when you're rich, you can't work. Well, the women can't. So Bertha reminds her children, who are grown, not to be late for luncheon, and that her daughter Gladys has a sitting at 3 for her portrait that she's having done with her. Well, they leave out for their walk, and Gladys ends up going to meet this boy, which I'm just going to say boy, but I suppose he's grown, in somebody's eye. But they go, and she dips off to the side and has a little secret meeting with him. His name is Billy Carlton. And they're meeting in secret because her parents do not know that Gladys is being courted by Billy. She knows her mother has plans for her future, and Billy says he wants to interfere with those plans because those plans involve Gladys being promised to marry someone else. And Gladys is very happy to hear that. Billy wants to speak to her father as soon as he's back from out west and asks Gladys if she's sure. And she says, I love you, so that makes me sure. Oh, that's so sweet. But poor Billy, he's got to get past her mother, Bertha, not her father. Now, Gladys's brother, Larry, sees his neighbor Marion, who lives across the street, who is niece to the Van Ryn family. And she was just engaged to Dashiell, whom she broke it off with just a few months ago. So it's too soon for her to go to the opera that he's asked her to attend tonight. I mean, that would be in poor taste. She's still in what, mourning? I don't know. Is she supposed to be in mourning over this man? That she done quit? They don't go together no more. It's over. But anyhow, he tried to kiss her, and she's like, don't do that, because a lady does not kiss in the open streets like that. But how sweet that is. Well, out west, George Russell and his top man, Clay, are waiting to meet with someone about buying some mines. And George only wants the land so he can connect the trains from New York to Chicago and Chicago to California so that there's a nonstop train that will move across America where they can move things and move people, and it become the thing that everybody needs, gotta have, So he wanted to be the first to do that. And he said that once they got some grants and subsidies, they can offset the cost tremendously. Ah, the upper class and their form of welfare and handouts. Isn't it grand? It's different, right? Okay. But to get to the point, George will have to risk, to get to that point of building what he wants to build, George will have to risk a very large amount of money on his own. And Clay, his advisor, feels that they need to take advantage of more of the mine owners and their prices since they need your money. So Mr. Ranger, this guy finally gets there that they had been waiting on, and he tells them that the mine owners want to meet with George all together. And George says that he is not interested in meeting with no clodhoppers, no clodhoppers, clodhoppers. I think that's the way you say it. Well, he said a bunch of stupid clodhoppers, which I don't think was very nice, George. Well, George instructs Mr. Ranger to give them no leverage because the land matters and not the mines. Um, and that's just that. He says, I'll meet with him, but you need to let him know I'm going to be the person that comes out on top. Okay. Well, back at the Russells, one of the servants, Mr. Boudin, their head chef, has gotten a registered letter, and he feels it's got to be bad news. Upstairs, though, Gladys is sitting for her portrait right on time with Mr. John Singer, who in real life was a very famous painter. Peggy has finally made her way back to the Van Ryn home and is excited about that letter that she went to pick up from her parents' house, even though she had to travel through the snow and it was very cold and she's starting to feel a little bit sick. Turns out that it was from an editor at the Christian Recorder who wants to publish an excerpt from her novel. Because she sent them a few pages and now she's excited that it will be published. Um, Agnes suggests that maybe Peggy should have a little bit of brandy to warm herself, but since Ada is having this temperance meeting, she kind of shuts that down because I mean the whole meeting is about not drinking. How you gonna be drinking when the meeting is about drinking? So she pulls rank on Agnes in her own house and and just shuts that down. Hold on. She even tells Agnes that she can stay in her room or go out if she can't be civil to these people. And since Agnes still controls um, her, well, controls things within the house, the tempers, well, no, since Agnes still controls her own items, that's what I'm trying to say. She says that she don't want these temperance people using her silver, not her good silver, because she's not petty. She's just discerning. There's a difference. Now, where's this picture that I have highlighted? Oh, okay, let me go. This was for that conversation they just had. Okay, so the temperance meeting is filled with speeches of doom and gloom and about the evils of alcohol and the scourges that it's caused for so many. It feels like someone preaching a sermon of fire and brimstone. But Ada was riveted by it, while Marion and many others in the audience just wanted to drink to soothe their nerves after all of this because it was a lot. Mrs. Graves was standing there with her bonnet and her jacket tied tight up around her neck. She got nothing showing but her face and a finger. I don't even know if she's showing a finger. She probably got on gloves. So she really uptight. But she didn't seem to notice how disconnected most of her audience was from her speech, which was indeed too much. At the end of the meeting, Ada announces that they're going to have tea in the dining room. This is a rich crowd. They used to having wine, but they're serving tea, and no one looks excited. Their cousin Aurora Fain, that's her name. She has to leave because her and her husband are going to the opera tonight. At the Russell's house. Oh wait, no, at the Russell's house. This is right. No. Okay, so there, these Oscar, her son, decided that he was going upstairs. He's like, I've had enough. I'm going upstairs. I ain't gonna be bothered with all that. Okay. Because and matter of fact, I'm going up here to have something to drink because I can't do it. He didn't feel that he could do it. Okay. At the Russell's house, um, Larry is also planning to attend the opera and asks if his sister can go with him. And his mother says no at first, but then after some prodding and Gladys low key blackmailing her mother, she reminded her that I know you got that uh, Duke coming and you gonna want me to entertain him. So then her mother ends up saying, okay, fine, go. Because one thing Bertha can do is hold a tight rein. Now, poor Aurora gets home and her husband Charles was late getting in, but if they hurry, they were going to be able to still make it to the opera. But Charles says he didn't care about going, and in fact, he just wanted to talk to her. So he sits her down and tells her that um, he asked her, has she been happy? And she's like, yes, I've been happy. And he's like, well, I have to tell you something. And what it is that I've met someone. And I'm trying to figure out, uh, Bill, going back to Beyond the Gates, Bill, how do you just meet someone and come in the house and tell your wife it's over? But I digress. But he says, I met someone and I've been spending a lot of time with her. And Aurora is confused because she's just like, I've been happy. And he asked, she says, haven't you been happy? And he says, please don't make me say, don't say anything unkind to you. This man had a lot of nerve and no heart. And he says, not only that, I'm going to marry her. So I need a divorce. So Charles, aka Bill, wants a divorce and asked her as casually as he would somebody to pass him the peas. Like he didn't just say, I want a divorce out the blue. Uh, but anyway, he needs her to be the one to go and get the divorce because he says, after all, a gentleman doesn't divorce his wife. And he was just demanding one. The gall of it. The gall. She was just taken aback. Aurora is confused and hurt in Charles because Charles is undoing her life as easily as pulling a stitch in a sweater. And to add insult to injury, he demands that she divorces him because a gentleman doesn't divorce his wife. And to that we say, you are no gentleman, sir. You are a cad. Aurora tells him that she will not do that. And he says, but you'll be unhappy and I'll be unhappy. And Aurora says, and so will your in math. Wait, what did she call her? In Amarota? In Amarota? I think that's what she said, which is a female lover. And she asks, who is it? And he says, Elsa Lipton. Elsa Lipton, Carter Lipton's widow. And she says, I should have known it. I should have known it was someone shady. Aren't they always shady though, Aurora? She also says, with all the battle scars that woman has, this one thing, I guess, would make that bigger difference. But this divorce is going to ruin me. You see, this divorce will slide her out of society's favor, no matter how close she was to the people before. She'd be a divorced woman, and that's frowned upon in her circle, not to mention the financial ruin that this is going to cause her as well. In this moment, she's happy, she says, not to have had children with him. And here I was, all decked out in these gewgaws, she says, not knowing the evening would end this way. And gewgaws are very beautiful, fancy, over the top outfits. Now, Oscar, Agnes's son, the one who ruined her financially due to him being shysted by a woman he fell for, is in his room as usual. He's very depressed all the time. And these days, he's back home with his mother. This grown man is back home with his mother, and he's just depressed. So he stays in his room and he drinks a lot. And he's quiet a lot because he ruined his mother financially. No one wants to do business with him. I think he was an investor. So nobody wants to do business with him. So Ada, who pays the bills, says that he can indeed stay, but she does want him to get busy doing something. And she suggests that maybe Marion should invite Larry Russell over to dinner, as it would be good company for Oscar. And Larry also happens to be helping their footman get a clock he's invented to market. So it should be an interesting evening for everyone. Now, at the opera, Gladys is sitting with Billy Carlton, the young man that she met up earlier with in the streets. And Mrs. Fish comments that to Billy's mother that she could hear them whispering the entire time during the second act. And Billy's mother says that, well, that's how young people are. They're in love and they can't be contained. Billy is going to talk to, Billy is taking Billy is talking to Gladys, and he's heard that her mother intends for her to marry the Duke, he tells her. But she's sure that her father is going to come home and save her from that and let her do whatever she wants to, which is marry someone that she really loves. And for her, that's Billy Carlton. Oh, dear Mrs. Fish asks Larry, her brother, if Bertha knows that Billy would be here tonight. And Larry said no. And she wasn't aware. And Mrs. Fish said, if she finds out the truth, then I'm going to end up paying because in upper society, you're going to be forever getting paid back for doing somebody dirty. Even though she didn't really do anything dirty, but that's the way that Bertha's going to perceive it. We already know that. She says, plus your mother feels this is for your sister's own good. So she's not going to let your sister wreck her future. So let's pray your father gets back in time. I don't know if he'll be able to stop it either. Bertha is a force to be reckoned with. Downstairs at the Van Ryns, the staff is around the table discussing the confusion in the house because two ladies are in the house with different views, Ada and Agnes. But only one of them can really be the person who runs things because right now one says up, the other one says down, and the staff doesn't know who to listen to. So they need some answers as to who really is running the house now. Peggy decides that she's going to go up and go to bed because she has this bad cough and she really wants to go and lie down. The next day, Aurora has come to tell her aunts that to tell her aunts that Charles has asked her for a divorce. And he wants her to go to Newport to establish residency and divorce from there so that it can remain private and not end up in the papers. It's harder for a woman who's divorced than it is for a woman who's not in society. So Marion tells Aurora that she knows she will still be welcome to dinners at their home. And then Agnes says, well, by herself she will. I don't think she'll be as comfortable, as happy in a group. But what was interesting to me is that Ada didn't object and say, oh, no, she can come. I mean, because Ada's the one running things in the house, right? She didn't jump up and say, oh, yeah, you can come on through. No, see, Ada, even though Ada is not quite like Agnes, she does still know the rules and follows them in upper society. Let me make sure I'm not missing anything here. Okay, back at the Russells. Is that the right picture? Let's see. Back at the Russells, she's haggling with. I'm sorry. I meant to get this picture. Okay, so back out west, Mr. Russell is haggling with the mine owners and wants a plan that makes them rich as well. That's what they want. They're like, we'll sell you the mines, but we want something that's going to make us rich as well. Not as rich as you, but indeed rich. So George gets a telegram. Is it telegram? Yeah, telegram that the bank is having problems back home and he has a lot of money in there because there's some stealing been going on by the person who was running it. So he tells Clay, look, just pay the people for the mines, make sure that I keep control of things and that I get the lion's share and all the power. And once you succeed in that, bring me the contracts. Otherwise, you'll be out of a job and no one will get any money. And the other gentleman can't believe it. And Clay says, oh no, he means it. Mr. Russell is a one-man band and the rest of us are dispensable. I got a feeling one day Clay is going to turn on him. Now, Oscar has come down from his room, and his Aunt Ada uses the opportunity to talk to him about getting up and getting on his own 2 feet and finding work again. Perhaps she said that Mr. Young Russell can inspire you. And so at dinner with the young Mr. Russell, Oscar wants to know if his father, okay, he wants to know if his father gives him money because he was trying to talk Ada into giving him an allowance. And he says, well, my dad gives me money, but not quite like that. So Oscar is feeling like, oh God, I'm still going to have to be under these women because his aunt told him, I'll pay for your food, I'll pay for your shelter, but I'm not going to be handing you out money. You're going to have to get out and go make some money on your own. And I don't think that was a bad idea. Well, Larry also tells them about the upcoming meeting concerning the clock that he's helping their footman Jack try to bring back to market. But he plans to go at that meeting alone, which I did not like. I don't trust that kind of stuff. But Marion also, hold on. Marion also chose this time to tell her aunts, since they were around the table and around company, that she's decided to take a position at a school that's for young women of every race. And they're shocked because what they thought she was saying was that she was going to get a job, and no woman of high society has a job. That would be outrageous. But they calm down when she tells them that she's volunteering to do it. But Agnes still doesn't like it. It looks too much like a job, and I don't blame her. Now, while they're sitting around talking, Larry looks up and tells the footman who's serving them that, hey, there's a meeting coming up, and blah, 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 blah. And Agnes is looking like, what is going on here? You having conversation with the footman? We don't do that around here. So she tells him to bring her some sauce around. In other words, leave him alone and let him do his job. And you come around here when he ain't over here serving us sauces and cheeses and things. Excuse me, you guys, I'm drinking some water. So downstairs, when Jack gets down there, they're telling him that he should be attending that meeting as well. And that it's only right since they're partners in this, which after all, he's the one that invented the clock. He's just using Larry to get him through the doors that otherwise he would not be able to get into. So the staff, let's see, the staff also tells the head guy that they need for him to find out again who they're supposed to listen to in the house because they're tired of all the confusion now. Now, once back home, Larry and his sister Gladys talk, and she needs to let her mother know that she loves Billy before she sticks her with the Duke for good, right? She also tells Larry that she knows that he's in love with Marion across the street. But getting back to the business at hand, if she doesn't hurry up and get things straight with her mother, it will take an act of Congress to get her out of this thing with this Duke. Because Bertha gonna make you marry him. At the Van Rhynes, Marion runs into her cousin Oscar in the hallway and she cheers him up a little bit about him trying to get back on his feet and get back on track. And then she goes up to see Peggy, who has been upstairs sick for the past few days. Peggy is under the weather, but she's working on the excerpt from her novel that she's to send to the magazine for the publishing. Marion also talks about Mr. Russell, with whom she is smitten. She likes him a lot, but doesn't want to get engaged or anything right now because, as we said, she just called off an engagement with someone just a couple months ago, and that wouldn't look too well in high society, and you know Bertha wouldn't like it. The next day, Jack is over to the Russells, showing Larry how the clock works, so that when he explains it to the investors, he would be able to know what he's talking about because Jack is the one who really knows that, and he really should be taking Jack to the meeting. What ends up happening, though, is that the footman comes in to bring coffee, and he does not offer Jack any coffee, and Larry is like, give him some coffee. He's like, to him? Because he knows him as a fellow footman who works across the street. And in high society, you don't be serving another footman like that from another house. That's like He did not like that. But Larry made him do it anyway. He said, "Go and get him coffee and bring it back." So even though Jack turned it down, the guy was still mad at him, even though it was Larry who pushed it about getting his coffee. Okay, so Larry is having a bit of trouble understanding about the clock and its movements, and Jack asks him, "Do you think I should come along with you?" And Larry says, "No, I think I got it. Child, rich folks always think they know everything and don't know nothing." Now, Bertha has a room full of women, very rich women, that she's speaking to in another part of the house about her opera house that she's opened. And Billy's mother makes the mistake of approaching her and starts talking about her son and her daughter, something she did not know about. Oh, they enjoyed themselves at the opera last night. And she's like, "At the opera? Who was at the opera last night?" And Mrs. Fish, who had got up in the middle of it, she's like, "Oh, well, see, they ended up just chatting in my box." And she was looking at her like, "I'm going to get you for this heifer later on because you know better. You know better." So Billy's mother is trying to talk to her about that. And Bertha just walks off from her and starts talking to somebody else, letting her know, "You are nothing to me. You and your son can get out. Y'all can get out." So Billy's mother's like, I thought that she would be okay. I thought it was okay. I thought that, you know, and so Mrs. Fish says, didn't you read the papers that her daughter is about to marry the Duke?" And she said, "I thought that was just gossip." And she says, "Well, not unless Mr. Russell gets home first. That's probably going to be happening." And she says, "Well, but I hope that by that time my son can talk to him." And she says, "Let me tell you something. Nothing is accepted in this house that isn't proposed by Mrs. Russell." And that's the truth. Now, there's this girl who works for the Russells that Jack had previously had an eye for, and he saw her outside as he was leaving, and she asked him about the meeting for the clock. She also dressed him down for letting another footman serve him. It was humiliating to him to be made a fool of, she said. And then she pulls ranks and says, "You're from the smaller house anyway, from across the street. And now you're not in favor with the servants over here downstairs either." Well, I guess. You go on and keep on shining them shoes outside, ma'am, with your uppity self. Girl, you so uppity. Now, once Larry is home, Bertha tells him of Billy wanting to marry Gladys and that she will not have it. It's not going to happen. She wants Gladys to live the best life she can, as happiness is doomed to fail as a goal, she says. A well ordered life is much better. Peggy has gotten sicker, and Mrs. Van Rhyme and Marion come up to check on her and says that they will call the doctor, and he better not get on the wrong side of her, Agnes says. Um, Peggy is a woman of color after all, and this doctor is not. Well, Jack gets back to the house and tells the staff what the girl said to him, and they tell him to ignore her and think of the road ahead, not this foolish talk that this girl was talking to him, and that they believe in him. Now, Dr. Lewis arrives and goes upstairs to see Peggy, and Oscar tells their mother that they should also write to her parents and let them know that she's sick. But baby, as fast as that doctor went up them stairs, he came down the stairs. And he said, "I don't treat colored patients," and then leaves. Well, now, Agnes was not happy with that, and Agnes said that the doctor will pay. And I fear, sir, that you indeed will. Gladys and her mother go at it about Billy and her wanting to date and marry him. She's in love. But her mother says a bad marriage is a prison, and you don't know that yet. And Billy will not amount to anything of note. And Bertha's definitely not going to have that. Well, after they argue, Gladys ends up going to her room and leaving out with she packs up her satchel and she leaves out in the dark of night. And a young woman in high society, unescorted alone in the streets at night, that's a scandal. Well, tune in next time as we continue this story of the Gilded Age. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
Okay, that's it for today. They're closing the gate, so I've got to close this door until tomorrow. See you then. Bye-bye.